that people believe that is noise that determines success. So you find people like Chester Hughes and so on, and even Massiah to some extent. I mean, he can have a little decency to him, Massiah, I got to give him that. But especially Chester, you go there, make a little noise, and give people the impression as though they're so effective in the negotiations. And I've tried to say to our union in particular that the fact that you have a good relationship with the government doesn't mean that you compromise. They too, some of them at one point wanted to take make unreasonable or take unreasonable positions and to make unreasonable demands on the government to show themselves, to make it look as though they're fighting, knowing that what they're asking for unreasonable. Even when our own union, for example, took us to court for the vaccine mandates, which they lost. There was no need for that. But you know what they're trying to do? Show themselves as though they're fighting for workers. Fight for what? They're just puppy showing themselves. But we at the level of our development now, that unions can have a good relationship with the government and be effective, especially when you're dealing with an administration or party, as in the case of the Labour Party, that is pro-workers.
Yes.
And there's no evidence of the ATNLU having done anything else but to have, helped to work with the government to increase the lot or improve the lot of workers. But again, I find in this society that the more noise they make, people believe they're effective. So Chester and them go and make a ton of noise around the place, and people believe they're effective. And where they're supposed to be exercising some level of balance and caution and so on, they're literally putting workers' jobs at risk.
True.
They've actually placed the LIAT workers' jobs at risk. Because I recall, in 2019, I said publicly to the LIAT workers, based on my readings of the Prime Minister of Barbados and the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, not St. Lucia. I said to them, in fact, we had left for a special meeting in Barbados. We flew down there tonight. I said, based on my reading of them and what they've said, they said they're fed up. And as far as they're concerned, if the LIAT workers do not cooperate, they're going to collapse LIAT. That was before COVID. And I warned them. I said to them, look, be reasonable. LIAT is practically bankrupt. If you can take a little 5% haircut, even if it's 8%, take it and save the company. And I remember I said to them, they can take a haircut. Some pilot go and rebut me and say something about you have a hair in your head. So you have a haircut to give some foolishness like that.
Maybe you have hair.
So I cautioned them, And you know what the response was? Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Browne, threatening LIAT workers. A year later, COVID came. And precisely what we're trying to avoid happened. Now, if at the time in 2019, they had taken a little haircut, and let's say they took a 5% reduction in the salary, at the time I think the heads were pushing for 8. We had committed to put in $25 million in LIAT at the time. As a consequence, there was an impasse, and you know who led that irresponsible behavior? The unions, especially the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union. In fact, it is because of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union failure to provide leadership for LIAT workers why LIAT eventually collapsed. And to add insult to injury, LIAT collapse, has no assets. They're now trying to tell the Antiguan government or tell the LIAT workers in that matter that we owe them $100 million. And they know nothing goes so. Because if indeed there was a kind of liability, they would have gone to court already.
Exactly.
So it's 4 years later. Massiah, I, Gaston Browne, the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, challenge you to take my government to court and to prove that my government has 1 cent in liability to the workers of LIAT.
We have to take a break.
But wait, no, we're not done yet.
Okay.
We're not really yet.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
So I'm challenging him to go to court. Stop fool the LIAT workers and tell them how the government of Antigua and Barbuda owe them 100%, owe them 100 million. Okay? I mean, it is, just dumbing them down. You're just lying unnecessarily.
I'm making them
And
longer.
exactly. And by the way, I hear some of them say, "Oh, the government hasn't paid us the 32%. Why do you think we can't pay you?" It's because like fools like Massiah and so on, they continue to make these unnecessary demands, unreasonable demands. I mean, here's the situation which we said, look, we don't worry nothing, but we're going to give you a gift of 32%, representing our shares in the company.
But you started at 50.
We started at 50 because what we were trying to do at the time was incentivize them to take the offer. And I even said to them at the time, because I met with them, I said, look, if we give you 50% and you then go to Barbados as a majority shareholder and you get, let's say, 30%, that's 80. I talk about compassionate pay now. And you get 10 from Dominique and you get 10 from
Grenada.
No, from St. Vincent.
St. Vincent.
That's 100%. So I said to them, take the 50% that we're giving you. It's a gift. And use that to negotiate a settlement from the other governments. I even said to them, one or two governments, because the liabilities are very small, like St. Lucia and so on, they said they'll pay. Because I remember when Philip came in, Philip said, look, it's under $2 million, we'll pay that. And to show how deceitful these union officials are, you know what Massiah is saying? Oh, St. Lucia had paid 100%. Brother man, if our liability was $2 million, we'd have paid maybe 600%. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But you're coming to burden down a country, a small island state, a vulnerable state that went through one of the worst crises ever in the history of the world, in which it lost about 18% of its GDP. And you telling the LIAT workers to go and burden down the country further by asking or demanding 100%. You know how much that would have been? $100 million. And let me tell you now, I said to the LIAT workers, we expect us to get $100 million, Sam. We don't have it. I can tell you what you want to hear, but I have a policy and a line to the body. That's what I'm saying, you know, that if people are going to punish me for talking the truth, I'm going to take the punishment. Because I told them straight up, I'm not lying at Carol over them and promising 100%. You can't get it. The most we can do is 50%. I said that, by the way, we don't have $50 million in cash, you know. We can pay some cash, you can get some bonds, you can get some land, a combination of all three, and we settle this issue. But this would give you the opportunity now to go and negotiate a decent package with other governments. Now, they are giving credit to Barbados. Oh, look how Barbados took care of their workers. That was about $8 million in liability the Barbados government took on. And you want to compare that now to the $100 million liability that you want to clap in the backs of the people of Antigua and Barbuda. And what they don't seem to forget, you know, is that Gaston Browne or Max Fernandez or anybody in my government they're hurting, you know, is the people, the taxpayers, who ultimately have to carry that burden. So we don't have an obligation to the to taxpayers generally in terms of the liabilities that we decide to take on. And again, I just want to make a final appeal to the workers of LIAT. And I've said to them that perhaps we need to find some methodology to work around the union. This is not the union busting. If we had owed you a legitimate liability, it would have been union busting. We don't owe you. We're giving you a gift. Accept the 32%, and you can still use that to negotiate with the other shareholding governments to see if we can get something out of them. That is what's on the table now, and I hope we'll find some methodology to get you know, these LIAT workers on board. I mean, we're really sorry for the situation, and we tried, you know. I remember in 2002 December, Comrade Fernandez, that we made it's 2001 December. 2001 December. We made a couple $1 million available. We said, we know you're suffering.
21, you mean?
21. December 21. And let us put this $2 million so you have a good Christmas. More than half of the money remained uncollected.
Wow.
Because the union told them, don't take it. Unless they get 100%, don't take it.
Ridiculous.
So who created the suffering? And I guarantee you that even going into the elections of 2023, by December 2022, if we had to find $10 million to put in an account to make them happy, would have done it. But the demands are such that the union said, don't take it. So they tied our hands, and we took a decision, you know what, even if they voted against us, it's an unreasonable demand, and we're not going to go down that road. But you see, when in opposition, right, you can make any amount of promises. And this is where they continue to fool the people of our country. And I think the LIAT workers genuinely felt that if the government had changed, they would have gotten $100 million, which evidently would not have happened. All they would have done, they go back to the people and say to them, well, sorry, we thought money was in the treasury, but there's no money, we can't help you. We do not deal with people on that basis. They say it's politics to behave in that way. I don't play that kind of politics with me. What you see is what you get, and I am not deceiving anybody.